While making last week's video, I started to talk about books and sources that I use to do research, and I realized I should probably show you some of the basics that I use. These are the things that I use to kind of get into it. There's other books, there's tons of other resources, but you should try these out as a beginner and to kind of understand things and where they go. So we're going to start off with history books, and the rest of the week I'm going to show you sources and even get into the concept of historical engineering. So today we're going to talk about history books and which history books are a good start to give you an idea of how things work. And here we go. The first one is the Ultimate Video Game History Book, or the Ultimate History of Video Games. Steve Kent wrote it. He was a journalist from all sorts of places. Really, he grew up in Maui, and then he went to Oahu, and then he moved to Provo, and then he moved to Seattle. So he's been around, and he's probably one of the not a major person, but his book is really the book you should look up when it comes to video game history and you're just starting. He did not want to name it the Ultimate History of Video Games. He wanted to call it the First Quarter. In fact, when he first released his books and was selling it at conventions and stuff, it was called the First Quarter. Steve Kent was the guy who taught me how to do research, so of course I'm going to show his book first, but that doesn't mean that he's the only one out there. However, if you want to get into the history, this is the best place to start. A lot of other books don't talk about some of the stuff that he talks about. He actually got in trouble, and he had people kind of go, be careful around this subject. So there's points where he mentions people, or he talks about things that had happened, and it doesn't go with the usual story that we hear. And it took him a lot of work to get permission to use that and not get in trouble. His biggest complaint is that there's some middling minutia in there that he'll screw up. Like apparently there was a campus for Atari instead of just a single or second building. There were multiple buildings that worked there, which brings up the question of how they could afford any of that, but that's another question. That's another subject you're going to have to do on your own for research. But the Ultimate History of Video Games is really the best place to start, and I would highly recommend it. It's a great read, and by the time you're done, you're going to be like, wow, this ends right at 2001. What happens after that? And the answer is, other people tried to step in and try to make more history books, but there hasn't been a definitive history book in the way that Kent has written it for 2001 to the present. We have to use other sources to kind of tell that story. But on to the next book, which is just as important. Phoenix, The Rise and Fall of Video Games, and now called Phoenix, The History of the Video Game Industry, is in its fourth iteration, and Leonard Herman, writing to his friends, is the other great historian. He started off just like Steve Kent. He was a reporter. He just kind of covered video games. He's got pictures of him back at the CBS shows in the 80s. And he can review and talk about every single item released, as it released, what the sales were like, how people responded, because he was there, and he gives a very detailed idea of every single year, every single month, every single console, how they were doing, how people were responding, what the reporters were saying. His book is 650 pages long, and I've actually been told the best way to read it, and I've actually read it, from one end to the next. His previous book, I also have, which is not as long, about 200 pages, but you use it as sort of an encyclopedia. You can read it from page to page and go for it. I mean, it's a great book. But if you really want to get it for what it's worth, you go, okay, I'm researching this year right here. You go in and he'll have an entire chapter dedicated to that year. And you can get tons and tons of information, the sales numbers, the idea of why they were doing things, and he uses a bunch of his reporting abilities and also magazines and other things from that time. So he gives a very accurate, very very detailed idea of how everything works. And in case you're wondering, yes, he knows Steve Kent, and Steve Kent knows him. They're considered each other friends. And actually, they both quote each other in their books. Kent says that he wanted to make the definitive book, and Herman had already written it. So that's high praise. And this is the second book, though it should go hand in hand with the Ultimate Video Game History book. Just buy them both, and you're going to be in for like a month or two of good, solid research right there. But on to the next book. Okay, we're going to go into very specific stories on games or things that weren't quite covered in the other books. Jacked and Masters of Doom are written by the same guy, David Kushner, and he seems to be a nice guy. I don't know him too well personally, but he seems like a good reporter. Something you should know about: almost all of these books were written by reporters. That doesn't mean that they're evil. It's this common thing. You will not find an actual historian on video games. There's a couple guys, Crucial, for instance. Crucial? I think I'm saying right now. He wrote some books, but really the big names were almost entirely reporters who would just go in and they'd be like, okay, I want to understand this subject. And so David Kushner actually went to the people who made Grand Theft Auto. He said, I want to do an oral history of Grand Theft Auto, how it started off. And so he wrote Jack from that point of view. And it's a fascinating book. It really is about these two kids who grew up in kind of the music industry, so they really know the music and how things are kind of promoted and stuff, and they made their games kind of based on that idea. But they were totally nerds. They were just these Scottish nerds who hung out in a single room with computers in it, and they built stuff with that. And they were amazed when they got a 386, and that was only used for specific things. Everybody else had to use the 286s. It's just some fun stuff, from the 80s to the 2000s, their slow rise in the British and European video game system. Most of the books, Kent does not cover computer games at all, for the most part, and he mentions it a couple of times, but really it's in tandem with another console game. I believe Leonard Herman does mention the others, but really they're not going to give you as specific details as Jack did. The same thing happens with Masters of Doom. It's about the story of Doom. How it was created, not how it was created, but why it was created. What were their thoughts? You find out that this was all part of a D&D game, Dungeons and Dragons game, where these guys would meet and they'd make games, and they were working for these companies. They're like, oh hey, we're pretty good programmers. Let's make our own game. Yeah. Let's base it on our D&D campaign. Yeah. And so the characters you're seeing and watching are actually, from this Dungeons and Dragons game. They kind of hung out and made their own games and slowly made money. Masters of Doom was considered one of the top-selling games of the 90s for PC, and it sold all of 2 million. So that should give you an idea of how important PC was at that era. But when people saw Romero or Carmack or the others, they would always be all like, "Oh, we're not worthy," from the cartoon, the movies. But just all these references and stuff, because it was so cool to see guys act sort of like rock stars around video games. And Romero definitely acted like a rock star. That doesn't mean he's a bad guy, but he definitely had kind of a rock star point of view from it. And you find out interesting things like when monsters explode, and you're like, where did they get the idea for this? It's because A, one of the guys just really liked blood, and B, because another guy described it in sound effects. He'd just be like, oh, you got to make the cacophony and go, and you can almost hear his voice when you watch the cacophony take part. As soon as you hear that story, you're like, okay, yeah. is something about these books, Ultimate Video Game History book, and Jacked, and Masters of Doom, and others. They are great books. They try to give it as accurately as they can, but they are definitely a story-driven system, and sometimes they push ideas a little bit more than others. It's not an attempt at sensationalism, but it's definitely trying to keep the narrative going. And so there's going to be points where you're like, oh man, this sounds so cool, but really they're just these nerds in this basement, playing video. And you have to recognize that when you're watching, when you're reading. It's not, oh yeah, he was like walking around with hardcore metal all the time, and people are just like, dude, you're cool. No. These were just guys sitting at computers, just like, okay, I'm going to enter this now. Wait, I should make that sound effect. I'm right next to a keyboard, but if I make the sound effect, I'm scared I'm going to hurt the recording. But, back onto Ultimate Video Game History book. It's actually said in the introduction that people were wanting it to be so accurate that they would talk to Steve Kent until like 4 o'clock in the morning to make sure everything was accurate. And this was, after he had written everything, they would just check for errors. And he said, these people just wanted the story to be told. And that's something you have to kind of see is just this love of this story and how much they enjoy it. So you should totally read these books, Jacked, Masters of Doom, to find out more of the story of that specific period. However, you should accept that what we're talking about, these nerds, and we're kind of making them a little bit cooler than they really were. Yes, they are the types of guys that sometimes act like rock stars, but in the end, they are nerds at a computer, and you have to accept this. There was no point where, they jump out of a building while it explodes, and, they have to reprogram, anything will be like. But still, the books themselves are great, and many people have recommended them if you want to get into those specific subjects. Next one. Game Over by David Sheff is about Nintendo, but really it's this whole other idea. It really opens you up to the concept of how video games work within the industry, or how Japan looks at things and how other industries look at things, and some of the things that Nintendo had to get through. David Sheff is very careful about, mentioning certain things, and I wish I could talk about it a little bit more, but this is definitely the best introduction without getting people in trouble. And it talks. I mean, it's amazing what Nintendo had to get through and how they had to respond to people. And there's times where David Sheff is kind of angry or, brings Nintendo down or says, they were really screwing up over here. And other parts where he's like, yeah, well, you should see what he had to go against. There were people literally trying to steal their code. And Atari literally tried to steal their code. One of the first cases Nintendo had to bring to court was a guy said that he was part of a Japanese company and wanted to make games for Nintendo and, all this stuff. And it turns out really he just wanted a simple 4-digit code so he could make fake NES cards and sell them on a Nintendo without having to pay a fee to Nintendo. And so Nintendo brought these guys to court, and it turned out to be people who brought it out were actually Atari. So that should give you an idea of why Nintendo is kind of lawsuit-friendly. By the 90s, the guy who was in charge of Nintendo of America, the president of Nintendo of America, was Nintendo of America's lawyer. That is not a joke. He only retired to help run the Mariners, and unfortunately he's not much of a businessman, but he's a great lawyer. They had to go against people suing them left and right, and they had to sue people left and right because it was the only way they could keep moving forward. Because a lot of companies push Nintendo as kind of evil in and of itself because they're just so good at making games and promoting their ideas that other companies will fight with whatever they've got. And it does get scary at times. And so Game Over explains a lot of these stories. There's several editions. I've been told the one with Mario in his Mario 64 outfit is the better edition, but that doesn't mean that the latest one from Kindle isn't good. In fact, I've got it and I've read it. It's a great edition. You should totally read it. Just know that there's different editions, and each one has kind of commentary from different ideas, different aspects, so that you can kind of get into it a little bit more. But this is really talking about Japanese video games and how they worked, and how Nintendo as a company had to deal with all this stuff coming at them, how they kind of responded badly at times. So you have to accept that. This is a big, heavy book. I think this is the only book I've got where I've actually really covered the entire thing with earmarks and underlines. So this is definitely a big book for you. All Your Base Are Belong to Us by Harold Goldberg it's a good book. He does screw things up by, if he hears an anecdote, he throws it in and says it's fact. But he did the same as all the others. So you have to go in knowing that there's going to be some mistakes, but he still explains all sorts of aspects that you weren't expect. For example, the people who funded Atari also funded Sierra Online. The EA had all this weirdness going on. The guy who ran the show specifically went into his college and said, "This is what I want to do as a major. I'm going to specially tell you what classes I need to take." And the college went, "Okay." And so, Electronic Arts wouldn't be started if it wasn't for this guy. And, just smaller stories within a chapter, but it gives you more details on that area. So you'll have stories of Donkey Kong, you'll have stories of Sierra starting up, you'll have stories of people kind of going a little nuts. I can't tell you any of the stories I've heard, but Harold Goldberg is a good friend with both Leonard Herman and Steve Kent, and this is sort of the best extension we've got from 2001, though it doesn't cover 2001 very often. You should enjoy it. It's a great book, and it will really expand your mind on how video game history works. Just the smaller stories, or stories that aren't quite mentioned as much in the other books, kind of get some expansion into this book. So you can feel, kind of watch as the history grows in your mind within this book. And it's small stories, so it's pretty good. And he does give some reviews on games, and so it's kind of interesting to read how he thinks of these games and how they work. But you're not going to get an entire book's worth of information. You're going to get chapters of, okay, this is this story, okay, this is this story. So you should enjoy it for what it is, and enjoy it, really. But, come with caveats. Still, I would recommend this book to anybody, obviously, because I'm telling you to read this book. And it goes for pretty cheap, so you're not breaking the bank to read this book, so enjoy it. Enjoy it. Okay, now we're going into specific histories that you probably haven't thought about. This is Nick Costa's. I'm glad. For a second there, I thought the bottom area had his name, and I couldn't read that at all. But Nick Costa is a historian, and he writes about the early late 19th century and early 20th century arcade games. And he does it from the point of view of English arcade games, and tells stories like, okay, at this point, they were labeling machines as gumball machines, gambling machines as gumball machines. They would give out coins, but they would say it was gumball because gumballs were legal. And kind of the cat and mouse chase between people who were doing arcade games, and many of these machines were totally gambling, by the way. England does not separate gambling and arcade as much as the US does. So you have to accept this when you're reading it. But it gives you a good idea of what it was like to run an arcade, or what it was like to have arcade culture within Europe, and then you can kind of take these same stories to people in the U.S. and they'll be like, yeah, actually, that's pretty accurate to how we like to do it. Or some of the stories you're going to hear about American arcade culture during the same time. A lot of the people were doing the same things. A lot of the machines were the same. They had gumball machines in places as well. They had to be easily transportable machines so that if the cops showed up, they could just grab everything and run. And that was a fascinating thing where they'd see the police as they're exiting out of a place and they're just like, well, gotta run. And these machines weigh a ton. I mean, one of the smaller machines can weigh 200 to 400 pounds. And the bigger machines, those things weigh 800 pounds, man. They're heavy. They're made of metal, and every single piece. The only light parts are hard-grained wood. I mean, these things are heavy. They're big. They're delicate. You have to be careful with them, and yet you have to learn how to run with them into your car and get out as fast as you could. It's a fascinating history, really. So you should totally look it up. He also has a second book out called More Automatic Pleasures. And I haven't read it yet, though I have been told that it's very good. And that if you study arcade culture, it would definitely be helpful. This should really introduce you to some of the ideas and concepts that we don't always like to admit that came into video game culture. Because Pong was definitely part of this. It was this arcade game from a guy who looked at it for arcades and decided to bring computers into it. And so you can kind of see both the technical side, but also some of the things they had to deal with at the time. Why this was a good idea? Why would a video game be a good thing? Because it's lighter, it's not gambling as much, it entertains people, and it's easier to fix. So those are major things of why video games suddenly became popular. The other machines had all these problems, and video games really fixed a lot of it. So that automatic pleasures just gives you this beautiful, beautiful idea of what the culture was like before video games. So you should totally read it for that reason. Also because some of those machines and games are just amazing. I mean, there were machines that were dolls that would move around and talk to you and stuff, and then there were machines that they would play games, and even to this day they're technical marvels because of how simply they're made inside, but they still bring this absolute joy to them when they're made. One of my favorite arcade games is actually from the 1950s. And it's definitely heavy, and if you play it too much, it's got a little motor in it that spins something around, and that motor actually goes kaput every now and then. And you just have to give it a moment, let it breathe. You're gonna smell melting, but you know that it's gonna work just fine soon after. So that's kind of the thing we see within this is these great games, kind of how England and Europe viewed games, but also some of the things that American culture probably has to deal with. It does mention America a lot, the US a lot. So you can kind of see how the arcade culture was working before the arcade culture that you imagined appeared. Okay. Hackers, Heroes of the Computer Revolution by Stephen Levy. Levi. Somebody wants to say that. Okay,
Call from 2064875
okay, I got a phone call while I was doing this slide, so I had to stop myself and start from here. So if you're noticing any weird jumps and stuff, that's what happened. I apologize for that. Okay, back to the books. Don't you love it when somebody's calling you and they're like, "Can you please donate to us for the important sum of helping the poor babies out there?" I'm like, dude, I used to work with refugees and stuff. I know exactly how much of your money is actually going to help anybody besides the people running your show. But yeah, nothing to do with the subject. But if you ever want to know, most charities that really help out, you've never heard of. They don't ask you for money because the rich people are the ones running it and actually own it. They're like, okay, you know what? I've got too much money. Here's $10 million. Here's $20 million. Here, do this, and it doesn't look anything like. Oh, and by the way, never insult a church because churches help out more than you can imagine. Yeah, that little rinky-dink church, you don't believe in it, but you know what? They just helped out a lot of families, so that's ridiculous. Sorry, just feeling weird. Okay, back to the subject. Hackers by Stephen Levy. These are heroes of the computer revolution. At first, it doesn't read like a history of video games, but really, this is one of the major histories on video game culture here. Because this is where computer and kind of the nerd culture came from. Hackers is about, starts out as the railroad club, the miniature railroad club of blah 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 of MIT, the MIT's railroad club, and they would have these giant, as I showed in a previous slide, they would have this room with just miniature railroads, all these wires underneath, running the railroad and the lights and the water and everything else running there. And people who could do this, who were into this, started to find computers, and these computers during the time, the 1950s and 1960s, were built pretty much the same way as these miniature railroad areas. So they could hack it. And hack is actually a term from the railroad people. A hack is, getting something to work even though you weren't expecting it. And the culture that you imagine from hackers is there. They don't have political leanings. They don't have political beliefs in the way we think of it. They're very open source. They're very, okay, this is what I need. I'm just going to go grab it. Okay, we need to do this. Well, I can't do this. Hey, can you do this? Or hey, can you do this? Yeah. And it talks about the first video game, and also the first programmers and how they used operating systems, and getting a computer to sync was major things. I mean, they were high-pitched, annoying sounds, but this was the first time they ever got a computer to make those high-pitched sounds in a fairly melodious form. And so a lot of what we consider, video game culture, nerd culture, comes from these guys. They were the ones who really started it. Okay, well, we don't understand this menu. This great story of them constantly going to the same Chinese restaurant, and it actually gets to a point where they're like, you know what, we might as well learn Chinese. So they learn Chinese, and they mispronounce something in the place, and the lady's like, well, are you sure you want it this way? And they're like, well, today's a special holiday. We'll always have it this way. So this club, every year on that day, they would actually go back to that Chinese restaurant to have it in this really bitter form because they said so, to keep it on. If that doesn't sound like a lot of internet culture, I don't know where you're from. They create operating systems. They do all this, and then they have this next section talking about people who try to change the world using the hackers' mentality, and you'll find guys like Wozniak and Jobs. And Jobs didn't just want to didn't want to do this computer thing. He wanted to make this new world and change the world the way he was doing it. And he had a very nationalistic idea of how things should change. He wanted to control the way people did things. He wanted to do it in the best way he could, but he still had this kind of controlling methodology. And just to let you know, Steve Jobs actually started working at Atari at first, and everybody at Atari thought he was kind of weird. And really, they all liked Wozniak better, his Steve Jobs' friend. And it turns out Steve Jobs would steal money from Woz all the time. And my dog just walked in, she wants pets. This slide is becoming kind of weird, but yeah. But this is a really good book to give you an idea of the history of computer science and kind of whenever you're studying anything technologically, you can see these two cultures: the people who want to make the nationalistic idea, those Jobs, and those guys, and then the people who want to make this open place where everybody gets what they want because they can, to the point that they'll break laws. And it's a very different point of view, but these are these major cultural ideas come in through this hacker's book. It's once again another novelization. It's more about the story and making these guys sound kind of dramatic. There's people that you're going to read about and you're going to see in like Wikipedia or something. Like they'll promote a lot more today. Like a great story. They decided to fix the machine to work the way they wanted it to. And yes, that's my dog, the little jingling sound you hear. And they fixed it the way they thought everybody was using it. And then one of the PhD candidates who was running a system to predict weather calculations for NASA went in and she couldn't get anything to work because she had been using the old system because she wasn't part of the group. And she chewed them out. And, she never thought anything evil of them. She's just like, oh, man, they did all these changes, and I didn't know about it, and who do they think they are? Ah! And, she was given an extension on her stuff, but, yeah, she's now considered a major hero because she helped program NASA. But to the hackers, she was kind of this outsider who she did stuff, but she wasn't as into computer science as they were. And so that's a fascinating book, and you should read this book to just kind of see where internet culture today comes from, because you're going to be like, man, look at the people trying to control, the Facebooks, the MySpaces, how they're trying to control what you see and what you do. And then you have these other groups, the people who download movies and download video games even though they shouldn't, and why they're doing this, what is their reasoning. And hackers really gives you a good idea of the start ideas is where it's all coming from. Okay, so the next video will be on source material. I've just told you 5 or 6 or several books. I'm not going to count it back in my head on what those books are. These books should really give you an idea of computer culture, of video game culture, of arcade culture, so that the next time you start studying, you're going to be like, oh yeah, this, oh this, oh this, and it's going to really give you a good idea of how things work, the way people say things. There's one other book that I wanted to throw in, but I couldn't remember the name. I have it, I've read it, it's got like 3 or 4 editions, or it's 3 or 4 volumes out now, but I can't find it right now, so I'll give a small video on it later. But it really definitely goes into the Japanese culture of how things were, the nerds versus the people trying to control, versus, other stories. Like the second volume totally talks about Yakuza and how they ran the show. And you have to accept that, the video game culture came from people who weren't always legal and weren't always smart or intelligent. They were doing things because they loved it, but other times they weren't loving it, they were just trying for power. But those books should really help you out. The next video will be on source material. Those are things that give direct references, mostly websites, with ways to play video games or to check out video games or information about, video games when they come out, so that you can just kind of watch the culture as it forms on its own. And I enjoy them, so you next time.